Globalists are in a complete and utter panic as the European right rises up to take over the EU. We're going to see the latest on the continent-wide elections this weekend and why they promise to be an absolute political earthquake felt all over the world. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your Patriot Professor, here to help you stay sane in these insane times. So make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Also, you have got to click on that link below and treat yourself and your family and friends to the most amazing soap I've ever tried, made by our good friends over at Old Country Soap. Made on a farm in South Dakota using traditional techniques. They use only locally sourced special ingredients without the harsh chemicals that can dry out your hair and skin. Every bar includes pure and unfiltered bentonite clay that works wonders. It helps to soothe and relieve dry and sensitive skin. It's known for its healing properties that help with psoriasis and eczema. It also pulls dirt and oil out from your pores, helping to clear up acne. I mean, it's amazing. It works great for hair. You could use it to shave. It's safe for pets. The scent alone is worth it. And of course, on top of all that, it's made right here in the USA. Use promo code Turley for an exclusive 20% discount off your order, and every order will include an extra gift. Just pay the shipping. It's more than worth it. You're going to love it. So go ahead, treat yourself, reward yourself with this amazing Patriot product. You will not be disappointed. Click on that link below right now. Europeans across the continent are heading to the polls this weekend for the European Parliament elections. Beginning tomorrow, June 6th, and lasting all the way to the 9th, nearly 400 million citizens in 27 countries will vote to elect representatives from their respective countries to serve as lawmakers in the European Parliament in the Belgian capital of Brussels. Altogether, 720 representatives will be elected, and political pundits are in wide agreement that this year's vote promises to be nothing less than a political earthquake. The polls for months now have been showing that Europeans are ready to vote in their single most right-wing nationalist populist government ever. In the nation of France, polls are showing that 1 in 3 voters are going to be voting for Marine Le Pen's National Rally, which is France's Patriot Party. That's double the amount who plan to vote for French President Emmanuel Macron's party, En Marche. And just to show you how the demographics are changing here, the National Rally has a powerful weapon, 28-year-old Jordan Bardella, who heads the party's list for the EU parliamentary elections. Bardella is a terrifying signal for globalists all over the world in that he represents the new right that's emerging among Zoomers, voters under the age of 30. In fact, polls show that National Rally in particular and the nationalist populist parties in general throughout Europe are getting their strongest support among young voters who share nothing of the loyalty older voters have for the more traditional center-right, center-left parties. Indeed, Foreign Policy recently featured an article arguing that it's actually the youth vote, the under 30 vote, that is the heart of the rise of the so-called European far right, promising that the nationalist populist wave that's sweeping the continent is just beginning. Case in point, the AfD, the Alternative for Deutschland, the nationalist populist party in Germany, they are now the single most popular party among 14 to 29-year-olds. In a recent survey called the Youth in Germany Study, researchers found that the under 30 German population is increasingly pessimistic about the state of things in Europe and around the world. They're very pessimistic about the economy, about inflation, but most especially about immigration. And the AfD has clearly persuaded the under 30 vote that all of these problems are caused by a globalist elite who don't care about them, who are violating German sovereignty, and who only care about their own power and affluence. And German youth are hardly alone. The younger vote, the under 30 vote, is moving in mass towards the so-called far right all over the continent. Marine Le Pen in France gets her most solid support from younger voters. Giorgia Meloni, the Brothers of Italy, Jimmie Åkesson of the Sweden Democrats, the Austrian Freedom Party, which is set to win a landslide in their national elections in the fall. They're all very, very popular in the under 30 vote. It's all par for the course in a massive political shift rooted in what British political analyst Matthew Goodwin calls de-alignment. De-alignment involves the breakdown of the bonds that used to exist between traditional political parties and their constituents. And this breakdown in those bonds that voters have had with traditional parties is making it easier for new political challengers to rise up and take the nation in a new direction. So in Britain, for example, get this. In the 1960s, around 50% of the British population felt strongly aligned to one of the traditional parties, either the Tories or Labour. By 2015, that number dropped to just 10%. Party loyalty dropped from 50% to 10% in a matter of a few decades. And no one is more de-aligned, as it were, than young voters. So this is giving the so-called far right an opportunity to amass a governing coalition they simply never had up until this point, that in terms of opportunity, because those prospects were frustrated by the barriers of party loyalty. That party loyalty is gone. And the populist right is making the most of this opportunity specific to an era of de-alignment. But there's a second dynamic that's going on here right along with de-alignment, and that's a process known as de-diabolization. How's that for a term, right? De-diabolization. De-diabolization is a political strategy that involves an intentional normalization process that seeks to bring a political party out of the political periphery, out of the political fringe or extreme, as it were, and bring it fully inside the political mainstream. And virtually all of the so-called far-right parties, so we're talking parties that were just garnering about 2 or 5% of the vote a few years back, they were in the periphery, all of those parties have successfully been de-diabolized, as it were. They're no longer legitimate objects of demonization by the globalist mainstream parties, precisely because of how much these populist right parties reflect the will of the vast majority of the people. So Giorgia Meloni, for example, the leader of the Brothers of Italy, I mean, gang, seriously, just 2 years ago, Meloni and Brothers of Italy, they were getting single-digit support, 2-3%. Now, of course, they so de-diabolized that they won in a blowout election in their last parliamentary election, and they promised to stun the political world again this weekend. But the Brothers of Italy are hardly alone. All of the so-called far-right parties are now poised to storm the European Parliament as a result of widespread political de-alignment and de-diabolization. Now, what can we expect from a right-wing takeover of the European Parliament? Are they going to disband it like so many of us would like to see? No, that unfortunately is not in the cards. Instead, a nationalist populist takeover of the European Parliament will most likely reconfigure the assembly into more of a federalist structure, which reimposes strict limits to its jurisdiction and reasserts national sovereignty for the 27 individual member nations. So one of the biggest points of contention, indeed, perhaps the major point of contention, it certainly led to Britain's leaving the EU, has been the issue of national sovereignty for the member nations. To what extent did member nations surrender their national sovereignty when they joined the EU? To what extent did they surrender control over their immigration standards, their own economic policies, their own environmental policies when they join the EU? That question promises to move radically in favor of limiting Brussels' continent-wide jurisdiction, all the while maximizing the sovereignty of individual nations, which of course is very, very bad news for the demons in Davos at the World Economic Forum that's pushing to erode national sovereignty at every turn. So obviously we'll be keeping a very close eye on the results of these historic elections this weekend, and hope to be reporting on some absolutely amazing and hopeful results. Here's your opportunity to tell big tech tyrants where they can stick it. Click on that link below and download our brand new cancel-proof Turley Talks app, and you can sign our special declaration of restoration. That's our petition to big tech that declares a new day is dawned. They are no longer in control, and we are taking our nation back. We've already got over 1,000 signatures of courageous patriots, and yours is next. Click on that link below or go to fight.turleytalks.com right now.